It was supposed to be just another quiet morning on the naval base, humid air rising from the ocean, boots echoing faintly on the concrete, and the steady rhythm of discipline that made every soldier's heart beat in time with duty. But when the woman in the plain gray sweater and jeans walked past the security gate, every sense of calm seemed to ripple into unease. No one recognized her, yet every man and woman on that base would remember her face by nightfall. Her steps were silent but deliberate, her gaze calm but piercing, like someone who had seen too much to be ordinary. The guards didn't question her. Maybe it was the quiet authority in her eyes, or the faded military tag she carried like a ghost of the past. But when the elite SEAL team saw her, their bodies stiffened instinctively, posture snapping into perfect attention, as though the air itself demanded respect. No one knew her name, but the legends whispered it before the day ended: Captain Elena Ross. Years before that morning, Elena had been one of them, not just a soldier, but the one they followed into fire. She was the kind of leader who carried storms in her chest and calm in her eyes, a rare balance forged through pain and love of country. The daughter of a Navy engineer, she grew up around the smell of oil and salt, learning how ships breathed and how men broke. When the world told her war was no place for a woman, she smiled quietly, then went and built a place for herself anyway. She trained harder, shot sharper, and planned smarter than anyone else in her class. And when her unit was ambushed deep in hostile territory 7 years ago, she was the one who led the survivors home, bleeding, limping, but alive. The mission had cost her more than anyone knew. They found her body broken, her lungs barely holding on. Officially, she had died 2 days later. The Navy held a funeral. The SEALs saluted her coffin, and her name was engraved in the memorial wall of the fallen. But she hadn't died. A covert intelligence operation had pulled her out before her heart stopped, her survival classified at the highest level. She was hidden, healed, and repurposed. For 7 long years, Elena lived in the shadows of conflict zones, a ghost working under no flag, no nation, saving lives where politics couldn't reach. Every mission stripped a piece of her humanity away, every death another reminder that freedom was not won in speeches but in sacrifice. When the war she fought in secret finally ended, she returned home, not to glory, not to welcome, but to silence. The medals on her old uniform were still there in her memories, but the woman she used to be was gone. She didn't come back for recognition. She came back for one promise. Lieutenant Mason Hart, her second in command, her closest friend, had once told her, "If either of us makes it out and the other doesn't, you find my sister. Tell her I didn't forget her." Mason never made it home. His sister, Emily, had been 16 when he died. And now, 7 years later, she was serving coffee in a small diner outside the naval base, unaware that the woman washing her hands at the sink in the corner was the one who carried her brother's last words. Elena sat quietly, watching Emily laugh with a customer, that same dimple Mason had. The noise of the diner faded as memories clawed their way back, Mason bleeding in her arms, whispering her name, begging her to tell his sister he was proud of her. Elena had lived through fire, but this moment, this walk to the counter, took more courage than any battlefield. When Emily finally noticed her and came over with a bright smile, Elena's throat tightened. She wanted to speak, to tell her everything, but the words stayed locked behind the wall of years and secrets. She simply handed Emily a folded letter, old, worn, with Mason's handwriting still faintly visible on the back. Emily's laughter faded as she read. Tears rolled down her cheeks, falling onto the ink that had carried across a lifetime of silence. "Who are you?" she whispered, voice trembling. Elena's eyes glistened, but she only said softly, "Someone who never forgot him." Then she left, walking back toward the base she once commanded, her steps heavy with the ghost she'd finally set free. When she arrived at the naval compound, the guards didn't know what to do. Her name was on the memorial wall, her record marked, deceased. Yet her presence was undeniable. When Commander Blake, leader of the SEAL unit now stationed there, came out to see the commotion, his face turned pale. He had been a young recruit under Elena's command once, and every soldier under him knew her name like a prayer. Without hesitation, he snapped into a salute. One by one, the rest followed, boots striking, backs straightening, eyes sharp. The air filled with the echo of unity, of respect, of the kind of honor that outlives death itself. Elena stood silently, tears glimmering in her eyes. She didn't ask for this, never wanted recognition. But in that moment, surrounded by the men and women she had once led, she finally felt something break free inside her, not pain, not pride, but peace. They thought she was just another civilian walking by, invisible in her faded jeans and quiet posture. But when they saw her eyes, the same eyes that had once stared down death and refused to blink, they knew. You never forget your commander. Not even when the world does. She left the base before sunset, walking along the cliffs overlooking the ocean. The wind carried the smell of salt and rust, and below, the waves crashed endlessly, like the heartbeat of the life she had given everything to protect. She knew she wouldn't return. Her mission, her real mission, was complete. Somewhere behind her, the SEAL team stood in formation, watching her silhouette fade into the horizon. No words were spoken, none were needed. For them, she wasn't a ghost or a myth anymore. She was the embodiment of what it meant to serve, unseen, unthanked, but unforgettable. As the sun dipped below the sea, a single whisper carried through the wind, the kind of whisper that belongs to heroes who never sought the title. For those who fight in silence, we remember you. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Legends of History, where real stories of courage, sacrifice, and humanity live on forever. Special request: tell us in the comments, what part of Alina's story moved you the most? Her sacrifice, her silence, or the moment they saluted her once more?